Welcome to the Swords and Sports Podcast, one man's journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I'm your host, Mike Mose, and this week I'm joined by an incredible author, Tamandra Whitecastle. She's here to talk about her book, A Touch of Iron. I thought since we're recording this on Memorial Day, there's no better way to celebrate than having a German author on. And just a heads up, and she wanted me to note this, but we say it in the interview also, the re-release of her book, Queens of the Word, is coming out this week, so make sure you pick that up. As another quick self-promo, please like, subscribe, rate this podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. That includes Spotify, iTunes, and some sort of Audible. Please do this so that I could quit my job and pursue my career of trying to interview Brandon Sanderson. So far, I've been pretty unsuccessful. But you know what? You gotta manifest your dreams to make them happen. For all the details on upcoming episodes, please follow me at Swords and Sports on Twitter. That's where you'll find out what authors are coming on, what episodes are, and links to all the episodes, which you could also find by Googling it, hopefully. If you're looking for clips of the show because you want to see what the madness is all about, Instagram is the place to find that. It is the same handle, Swords and Sports. Let's get right into these book details because I can't wait for everybody to hear Tamandra Whitecastle. The book is A Touch of Iron. The author, as already mentioned, is Tamandra Whitecastle. The series is the Living Blade trilogy. It is complete, it is out, and if book 1 is any indication, it's fucking excellent. It was published on May 20th, 2016, which feels like in a lifetime ago, but not that long ago. The paperback is 356 pages. It is a quick read. It is a self-pub book. And the books in the series are A Touch of Iron, On the Wheel, and Mother of Slag. Just as an important, super important, ultra important, any adjective or adverb you want to throw in front of important, this podcast contains spoilers for the following book, A Touch of Iron by Tamandra Whitecastle. So if you have not read the book, consider this your first and only, there might be another, warning. Without further ado, Tamandra Whitecastle. Welcome to another episode of the Swords and Sports Podcast. I am beyond thrilled to be joined by author Tamandra Whitecastle, author of A Touch of Iron, which is part of the Living Blade trilogy, and Queens of the Word, which by the time this podcast comes out, oh, look at that. I always love when the author is super prepared. And also Queens of the Word, which is re-releasing tomorrow, which means it will have been released for 2 days by the time this podcast comes out, if my counting of days is correct. So I don't know how days work. First off, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I was reading through some commissioners' reports. I'm a big fan, and I noticed that you're a fan too, and you're a particular fan of the famous commissioners' report on children's employment in iron manufacturing in districts in England in 1864. Yes. Can you tell me more about that? Because I wasn't familiar with that exact one.
So it's actually quite horrifying. I should explain that I come from two different angles with this. So on the one hand, I studied history at uni. Among other things, so a lot of like early modern, industrialization, that kind of stuff. And so it's always been fascinating to me. I know it can be very boring to non-historians, but it's quite interesting that we have so many detailed, studies on all the notes and the numbers, and I like that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, I also dug in deep because so Touch of Iron deals with charcoaling, which is like charcoaling is a process that you need to have coal, which sort of like fueled the entire industrialization. So it's kind of important. And I was rereading some of the sources that we have from the commission report from the Black Country in England, which did a lot of coal manufacturing, and it's horrific, like child labor and all of the conditions, like 16-hour work days. And it's like, wow, we have it so easy. Like our ancestors are smiling down at us, going like, you know what? I died in the coal mines, but you, my friend,
I don't know.
You've got a good life.
I don't know if you've been on Twitter. People don't think it's so easy compared to those kids. So, so 16-hour workdays, that sounds horrible. Is some part of it, if you could detach from it, funny? You could say no.
I mean, I have a very dark sense of humor, so there's always a chance to make some really horrific jokes. But no, I think I'll maintain a clean image and try not to go, no, it's very terrible. Like, there is nothing to joke about there.
I mean, we'll see by the end of this podcast where we're at on the dark jokes. Yeah. So, did you ever debate calling the book a touch of charcoal, or that just doesn't pop off the page?
It doesn't really, does it? I had a lot of, I had loads and loads and loads of titles actually. So it was complete, because in my head it was always The Living Blade. And then I was like, oh, damn, I have to actually give it a proper name. And what do I call it? So it took a long time, like months and months of crossing off all kinds of random generator fantasy titles. Like, oh, that doesn't fit, that doesn't fit. And then basically going back into the book, and because I had the repeating phrase, touch of iron, touch of home, I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Well, you nailed it. I've always been wondering this. Is it harder to name a child or a book?
Wow, that's emotionally, it's probably harder to name a child though, because you know that person is going to be stuck with that name for the rest of their life. And it's, the pressure's really on there. Like with a book title, yes, it's important because marketing and blah 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 blah. But it's not like.
I mean, there's a market for baby name books. Should we hop into a market for book name books?
That would be great. I can imagine lots of authors need that help.
Right.
I mean, except Benedict Patrick, who always knocks it out of the ballpark. But
Well, Benedict, he just starts giving a monologue, and he's like just pulls out like 3 sentences, and he's like, I guess this will fit on the cover. Let's go with this.
Exactly. We love you, Benedict.
We do love you, Benedict. He's now officially the folklore expert of this podcast, a title Excellent. He does not want. So I was reading, and your favorite genres of books are fantasy and cookbooks.
Yes.
So when are we doing the fantasy cookbook?
Actually, one of my favorite fantasy cookbooks is one. It's Nanny Ogg's. I don't know what's it called. It's Nanny Ogg's cookbook from the Discworld series.
Okay.
There are some really great recipes in there, so I can definitely recommend it. It's just funny as well, and the illustration is really good as well. So yeah, definitely. But there should be more fantasy cookbooks, and I don't mean like what did the hobbits eat, or feasts from Game of Thrones, although we do get that a lot. But it's just like I just love food. I think everyone loves food. Like food is the universal thing. And yeah, I think there should be more fantasy cookbooks.
Now, would your fantasy cookbook have like actual recipes, or would it have like, actual recipes with imaginary ingredients?
No, actual recipes, of course. I mean, unless it's like, I don't know, because sometimes you do get like fantasy books with special ingredients. But no, it's just normal, stuff that you can buy at your local supermarket, wherever that is.
Wherever that is for you, got to be organic or something. On February 21st, you posted a picture of a T-Rex parked in a roundabout. Was that a legal parking space?
Totally. I mean, we wouldn't want to do anything illegal. I think it was actually sort of like the challenge of without downloading new pictures, what is your mental state right now? Yeah. So we have lots of dinosaur figures. As my kids are super into dinosaurs, and we have a lot. And I was just like, yep, that's me. It's the T-Rex with the 2 short arms. Can't really get back up again.
Speaking of your kids, you kind of have this, I've kind of never heard this before, but you kind of have no writing routine. And,
Yep.
if this was just a normal book podcast, I'd be like, what's your writing routine? But I'm not going to ask that. You kind of just squeeze it in whenever you can. What is
Yes.
the weirdest thing that entertains your kids that gives you time to write?
So the weirdest thing. And so my kids love YouTube. I mean, which kid doesn't love YouTube? And so we've pretty much gone like all through. Like YouTube for kids is really weird. Like there is really weird stuff out there. Right now we're doing a lot of like Minecraft tutorials, which is
What is up with that?
so,
Why do kids love that so much?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's yeah, it's there's a fascination there. I don't know why, but and some YouTubers actually do it quite well in that they don't talk that much. But like my kids love the talky YouTubers who just like tell you every single thing that you really not interested.
Well,
That's sort of a yeah. Go watch YouTube.
controversy sells. Is there any YouTuber you're like, if I have to listen to one more minute of this person, I am going to whatever you choose to do?
Explode. I can't really say because so and most of them are all German YouTubers, so I don't know if they'd actually be like that popular. Well, probably no one knows them except other German kids in that age group. So I don't know, but yeah, there are some where I'm like, oh my god, if he opens his mouth. And he does, but
it always happens, right? I mean, speaking of Germany, you were born in technically Germany, but on British grounds. So, what were you born in a German beer hall in London or something?
That would be a much cooler origin story, but no. So my mum is German and my dad is English, and interestingly enough, because I'm an 80s child, so I'm one of those damn millennial people.
Oh God, the worst.
I know. Us with the avocado toast. I mean, we destroy everything.
I mean, it's delicious.
It is. Fantasy cookbook. Avocado toast.
We'll keep that idea on hold. Coming 2022.
And no, it's like in the 80s. Like this is another fun historical fact. So in the 80s, Germany was actually still divided into the 4 occupation territories. So you have like the most well known is of course the one behind the wall, which is the Soviet, GDR. But then the other 4 occupation areas was like northwest of Germany was like the British Army. Then in the south, you have like the Americans with Bavaria and the like American. Ramstein, for example, is like the big one, the air base there. And then you have like the French having like a small part as well. And so in the 1980s, if you were born in a military hospital on German ground, you were actually born in whatever occupying territory you belong to. So because I was born in an English hospital because my dad was a British soldier in the military hospital, so I am born in Germany, in Hanover, which is like an hour's down the Autobahn. So it's in Germany, but technically in England because it was still, it belonged to the occupational force and it was the British Army, so I'm British. Got a British certificate and everything.
So, I mean, like, do you have dual citizenship?
Not anymore. I used to.
That is just beyond confusing. That seems like a logistical nightmare. So what would happen if you or England and Germany were playing in like the World Cup or something? We'd be like, well, I was English first.
Actually, they have played often. I tend to not go there because it's too too much emotion, man. It's like don't touch the soccer. It's holy, and there's the
yes. So it's not something you want to involve in.
Germany and England is a big one. Like the whole, did the Wembley, did it the goal? Did it count? Yes or no? Yeah. decades-long discussion there. So let's not go there.
Okay, we won't touch that subject. I've just gone through your Twitter, and obviously, besides being a huge Marvel fan, which is very obvious, you kind of have this love-hate relationship with Captain America. What's going on with him? I mean, you've got
I don't know.
You've got one hand you have beef with him,
Yes.
which I was reading about, and then on the other hand, you write fan fiction about being in love with him.
No. Let's set the record straight.
Just a tryst.
No. So for the record, I write fan fiction not of Captain America, but of Bucky Barnes, which is a completely different subject. Okay, so.
Okay, yeah, I gotta clear that up right away before we proceed.
That's a completely different. It's a completely different person. No, but I have a problem with Captain America in that for a long time I didn't see the first movie because I thought it's gonna be so like, it's called Captain America and it's like set in the 40s and obviously he's going against the Nazis and it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be like America and patriotism and kicking Adolf Hitler in the balls and all that. And I thought, I'm not going to watch that because that's probably going to be bad. But then I watched The Winter Soldier, which is Captain America 2, and then there was this whole storyline, of course, with the Winter Soldier being Bucky Barnes. Big spoiler. And there's this great fight scene with on the highway with Cap and the Winter Soldier and Black Widow and Falcon is there as well. And then, it's like the Winter Soldier loses his mask and Steve is like, Bucky? And I was like, I don't know who Bucky is. Damn, I have to say Captain America. So that was the first point where I'm like, oh, really? I have to watch this movie to get all the backstory? Oh, damn. So, and then, I don't know, but like the end of Endgame, Steve Rogers ending in Endgame is just oh
my God.
Do you have like 5 hours for me to rant about this?
Yes.
It's I just get so upset because it's so so we have, I don't know how many films do we have with Captain America at that point, so because he's in all of the Avengers and he's in all of so there's 3 Cap films, and then we have all of the Avengers, which is the 7 movies, and throughout his entire arc, like Captain America is like the guy who he doesn't like bullies. That's what he constantly says, and and he can do this all day, and he's gets up dork. He's always there for his friends. Like that's the whole point of Civil War is who Cap's friends are. Right. So, and then there's the whole, I'm with you to the end of the line, and all these other things, and then at the end of Endgame we get this like fucking shitty ending where he goes back in time to bring back the Infinity Stones, which is like, yes, obviously Captain America would do that because Steve Rogers is a good guy, so he goes back in time and he does all the bringing back, and then we see him sort of like. There's a cut scene and he finally gets the dance with Peggy Carter. And then he comes back as old Cap and sort of passes on his shield to Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and sets up like that whole thing. And I just get so angry because it's like the implication is that he's come back in time and he's with Peggy Carter, who I don't know if you've seen the Peggy Carter miniseries that Marvel has also brought out, but it's like she has a completely, she has a whole character development there as well. And they just destroy it because the implication is that he's like sitting there with Peggy, having like this blissful marriage with a girl who he loves for like 5 minutes in Captain America: The First Avenger, and he ditches his best friend, like Bucky Barnes. Can you imagine? Like, there's just so much. Oh my God, there's just so much that's so wrong about that. It's like it's destroying the entire character that you set up over 7 movies, like in 5 minutes. It's like for the fan service of yes, Steve finally gets his dance with a girl. Great, that's a bit misogynistic and sexist, but we'll go with it. And you've utterly destroyed Agent Carter's entire series. Like, no, no, it's just no. That I do not accept that. It's like that scene did not happen in my version. It's like, no.
All right, so I'm starting to figure out your triggers here. It's German Minecraft YouTubers and and Captain America. You know what? We're learning a lot here.
Yes, it's well, nowadays we have to say it's Captain Steve Rogers and not Captain America.
Oh, okay. We're ditching the America. I mean, I am wearing a USA jersey. This is not a good look for me.
Yeah, so I have lots of feelings about. I have lots of feelings about Marvel's movies in general, but yeah, no, that one is just like, and it's been. Is it? I don't know. The pandemic has sort of ruined all sense of time, but it's like it's 3 years ago now that Endgame came out.
Has it been? I feel like it came out last week.
I think so, but it's just every time I go back and think of that, I'm just like, oh my god, that's such a terrible ending.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of series that's the case now for where everybody just everything's ruined. All right, let me try to rein this in.
Okay.
I'm scared. I'm scared for Captain America. Also, I feel like this is. You said you didn't want beef with the German YouTubers, but you might have started beef with the Marvel universe.
Well, maybe I'm such a small, low life that no one will come for me. So
I have a feeling that's not true. So you're a teacher, correct?
I was. Currently not at the moment, but yeah.
Were you publishing books when you were still teaching?
I started, yeah.
Okay. Was there ever a point where you were in a parent-teacher conference and they're like, chapter 2 of A Touch of Iron, what the fuck is going on here?
No, actually. Because I taught in a German high school, and so there are very few people who actually read English books.
Okay, yeah, well, I have this theory that anyone who teaches and publishes books has to sign their own book as reading just to get some book sales.
Well, I mean, that might be a good idea.
Listen, I'm trying to go for cheap marketing tricks, not proven successful or innovative ones. I'm all about the quick buck here. I think we're ready to do some book questions because that was as good a lead-in as I can do. My first question, what the fuck is Saleema's problem? Should Nora have just left her in the basement? I mean, this gossiper is just a pain in the ass.
I know, right? It's like, I don't know. She's just she's a very bitter woman, I think. So like something has gone terribly wrong in her life, and she's chosen someone to take it out on, and it's unfortunately Nora. But I think, I mean, in all fairness, Nora can take it. So
could she? She seemed pretty bothered by it.
Yeah, but it's I think that's Nora's superpower. She's pissed by everything.
That's true. She is easily offended. But she deals with it well. But also,
does she though?
I guess. I mean, questionably, she does save her.
Yes.
Okay. But also, Saleema wasn't 100% incorrect. She exaggerated a little bit. We can both probably agree, probably not great to make out with your stepdad and fool around, unless you're Woody Allen. But
you really went there.
I don't know if you've listened to the show.
We've got Minecraft YouTubers, Marvel, and now Woody Allen. That's great. It's great.
I can handle the Woody Allen smoke. I'm willing to jump into that fire. But would you say you were innovative in that step sibling stuff is really popular right now, and you seem to be first to market with it?
Really? Okay. Well, I'm not aware of that, but okay.
That's the best trends.
Comparative titles? I don't know.
No. Do your own
Oh,
research,
no.
people, and make sure you're not at work.
Uh-oh.
So is it badass to start a duel by slapping someone? Like, is there anything more badass than just slapping someone saying, I challenge you to a duel?
I don't think so. Obviously. Especially if you challenge someone to a duel who you know is going to whoop your ass.
Right. Didn't Pushkin die by that or something? I don't know. I'm not a history guy. I make up my own facts. Is that gonna fit in this interview? Whatever. That's how he died. Him and Mark Twain both died by duels. Is there anything more badass than being slapped in the face for a duel than saying no?
No. I mean, you've got to admire his absolute poison. That's what I really enjoyed writing Diaz. Though, is that he's like this killer warrior, sort of like no problems killing everything and everyone. And there's this girl who's like spoiling for a fight, and he just goes, "No, not you."
Would Diaz's life have been easier with color contacts?
Probably.
Master Kumi, she goes, is this the part where I tell you my evil plan? How come more people just don't announce it like that? Like, hey, I'm going to tell you my evil plan because, she says she's not going to, but then she kind of gives in some of it.
A bit. I think it's like, I think they just really, I think villains really just want to spill, I think they're just like, what, I just really want to tell someone. Like, I've spent hundreds of hours sat here, like working out the details for my evil
there is a point to that because half the point, it's like, working out, half the point is to post it on Instagram. What is the point of spending all this time coming up with an evil plan if you're not going to tell everybody what it is?
I mean, right? You need the credit. It's like, witness me.
That might be the most relatable character in the whole book because that's what the first thing I would do. I'd be like, yo, first off, I would ruin it because I'd be telling people I've been working on this evil plan, can't wait to drop this one on everybody.
I mean, it's also like it's like stand-in for the author, because it's like we slave for hours and hours in the background, and it's like, I'm just gonna tell you now. Now I'm gonna tell you.
Does that feel good? Because you're getting real giddy over there about it. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like, finally, I drop this.
Now, after all these hours and months of slaving away, now I can. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's very cathartic as well. It's like the emotional release, because I think one of the things that people don't really. So there's always this question of self-insert, yes, no, but I mean, obviously, like I wrote this and I wrote every single character, so every single character is me.
Right.
I'm just having a very elaborate conversation with myself, and so it's like it's always fun when you get to the evil parts. Actually, it's a lot more fun.
Well, speaking of a character you wrote yourself, I was reading an interview, and the character you create for yourself is a bardette who uses explosives, who's lowborn, and for such an exciting character. I mean, could you get a more boring name than Jane? You're better than that.
But why not? Well, I mean, it's one of those things that nowadays we have all of these sort of like fantasy names, and they're always like these really unique and but most if you go back into the records again, which is where the historical training comes back in, it's like they're all like Mary or they're all Jane
right.
So there's not actually much variety there. So the likelihood that you'd have a bard with explosives running around Fantasyland, she'd probably be called Jane or Mary.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you included Mary and Jane. So Mary Jane there, everybody. Not a drug podcast. All right. What's up with the shadow hands inside Diaz molesting him?
It's a metaphor for all the things that will not go away. No, it's a kind of a control. Like, you know how when things, so you really want them to be over, and you sort of like you've done a cut and you don't want to go back.
Right.
But the past does have its ways of sticking. It's like it's still there under your skin. It's still in your mind, and it's still going to affect you even years after you really don't want to go there anymore. So it's like, I mean, he's kind of a traumatized dude, so he's carrying a lot of stuff around. And I just thought that was it was a nice fantasy way of saying this guy has issues.
At any point, though, like say he has a sore muscle or something, at any point are those hands massaging him?
Probably not where his muscle is sore.
That look away was perfect. Is there anything more male ego than getting yourself a warrior ring, wearing it, and then not even being able to use the sword because the warrior ring is so cumbersome?
I mean, toxic masculinity, right? You've got to have all the trappings, but then yeah, no, it's great. I think that's great. I think it should always go that way. You should always have like so many like, yes, I am this super alpha male, and that's why I can't even draw my sword properly.
And everybody look at my ring, and then I'm gonna get stabbed in the chest because I can't even use a sword.
Yes, that's excellent.
Is we're getting all over the place here. I love it.
It's chaos. I'm sorry.
This is what I wanted. Is Serana's entrance where she just starts making out with Nora? Was that problematic? Because everybody seemed pretty cool with it.
I think they're pretty. I mean, they're in like the world's largest brothel, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, so this is happening. I think you don't go to Shinar and sort of think, oh well, this is the time for me to be prudish about things. It's like, oh no, obviously this is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, what does it say about Owen that he mentions that he was like, yeah, well, I gotta admit it was kind of awesome, but he won't even look at any of the girls in the library. So the only sexual act he watched was his own sister.
Yeah, Owen has problems. Like everyone in this cast has problems. Owen is like, I think he's very fixated on his twin sister, and not like in a very good way either. So yeah.
Should he?
I don't know.
Should he like look up at some point?
No, he's got books to read, man. It's like he can't look up.
What would he say about
tax reports?
What would he say about the commissioner's report of 1864?
I bet he'd be fascinated. He'd probably spend like hours and hours.
I gotta find this and tweet this out because I'm now fascinated by it.
See?
How many kids named Mary and Jane burned up in the coal mine? All right, we'll move on. How awesome is Sundust to do? Because let me tell you, it sounds sick.
But don't do drugs, kids, because it's not good for you. No, I don't know. So I've never actually done drugs except for painkillers, for the obvious reasons.
Okay.
So I don't know, but the feeling like when you have really bad headache and you sort of like you're taking a painkiller and it's slowly kicking in, it's like the best feeling. And I just thought, well, maybe all drugs are like that. Like you're feeling terrible and you put something in and it's just like, everything is better now. So yeah, definitely, it's probably a really, really good drug.
Right. So I have a theory on Sundust.
Okay.
So in Shinar, if you have a baby, it either becomes a worker or it gets burned in the fire. Is Sundust the ashes of the burnt children?
No. No, it's, that would be too mean. No.
That would be too mean for what goes on in Shinar. That's over the line.
No, because the way Serana justifies it to herself in her mind is like, but it's this is actually a good thing to do because we're going against overpopulation, and so I think so the fact that she's sort of like ritualized this whole baby killing is actually it's a sign that she's aware of the fact that it's about social fabric and how to manipulate it. So it's like, oh no, this is a holy thing we're doing. So obviously the ashes then would also be probably. I mean, I've never thought about what they would do with it, but I'm sort of sure that they would do something like in veneration, like there would be something like to commemorate the sacrifice. Definitely.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's like the rationale behind it.
All right, it's good to know where the lines are. When there's a part where Diaz is doing some, maybe it's Diaz doing some sword flippery, and Nora goes completely pointless, but looks awesome. How come more characters don't just admit that doing pointless things with your sword looks awesome?
How come not? How come there aren't more characters who actually do that? Just like,
right.
I'm just doing this to look awesome.
Well,
because I can,
Right. I mean, what is the point of having any skill if it's not to show off?
Absolutely. Especially, I mean, if you go back to that's like the warriors back in like the medieval times, like these were like top athletes. These were highly competitive people who spent like days and days, months training in their special field. So it's like, why wouldn't you show that?
Right.
I mean, just to flex, not all the time, of course, because no one wants to have that guy, but it's like just on occasion, and to a very rewarding audience, sort of like look what I can do.
I mean, it's not like they have German YouTubers or TikTok back in the day, so someone's got to be responsible for entertainment.
Absolutely, and why not?
I mean, there's another character who's doing a bunch of sun dust, and she was doing all types of cool acrobatic tricks. In this case, it proved that she got her ass beat. But let me tell you, I bet you before that, people were like, wow, this is awesome.
I bet lots and lots of people were betting money on that girl. Doing the knife flips and the acrobatic stunts.
Let me tell you.
It's the so that was fun to write because I actually had like I had choreographed like a whole fight scene, but then I was like, no, what would be much cooler if you'd have like the Indiana Jones.
Right. That was the kind of vibe.
So it's like, look what I can do. And Nora's like, symbolically, because she does it differently, but she just takes out a gun and shoots her.
I mean,
problem solved.
That was one of the scenes where I was just dying laughing.
Yes, that's good because that's my kind of humor. It's
right.
That's funny.
You seem to have another side of humor that is famous on the Swords and Sports podcast is dick jokes, and you have a few of them.
I would never.
Well, fortunately, I have evidence to the contrary, so I'd like to go over some of my favorites from here.
Okay.
What do we got? Okay. Typical. Even the heavens revolved around some guy's testicles. That's we got to be able to come up with new types of consolations. Well, seeing he grew up as a male prostitute, I'm not surprised he could sing, dance, and blow the flute.
That's a good line.
I'm glad you think so. And then, as always, there's always some building that looks like a dick. One moment there was snow-brushed canopy, then the phallic structure of the temple piercing the sky. There's something holy about a temple looking like a dick.
I mean, lots of temples actually do look that way. So it seems to be the thing, with can I say mankind?
Sure.
Like, oh, you know what? You know what we should build?
If it's going to be insulting, go right ahead.
So let's just build this massive cock. That's our God now. You know, that's where we're going to go to pray. And it's like, sure. Let's do it.
I mean, yeah, that's an excellent point, I guess, because it does always seem to go back to that. All right. I had some questions about my man, and I think that I just feel bad for him at this point. How awful is Wolf that Nora is willing to, just on a small list of things, she's willing to go 1v6 against a group of bandits. She's willing to run out in the snow with an arrow wound in her shoulder. She's willing to run away with no plan of where to go. And she's willing to join with Bashan the Bastard and his group of murderous, sexually abusive marauders, all to avoid one seemingly nice guy.
Yeah, but that says more about Nora than it does about Wolf, really.
Does it? At some point, does he take it personally?
Actually, I had this whole sort of headcanon that I never got around to writing it, is that Nora would one day go back and then it would turn out that Becca and Wolf got together and married and had a very stable, happy relationship. So everything that Nora isn't either stable or happy. So I was like, yeah, just, I think it would have actually been a really bad. That's it. I think Wolf is probably a nice guy, which is why he should really keep far away from Nora. So maybe she made the right call. I mean, I don't know, but she's sort of the type who would do extreme things, and he just wants to go on his horsey and have stables, and she's like, no, that's boring.
I mean, you've basically written the plot of a rom-com with that one. Wolf has this stable relationship, good life, but he's bored and unsatisfied. In comes the one that got away, Nora. Comes back to the hometown with all these big city dreams and plans, and he realizes that he was actually in love with her the whole time.
And then he finds out what an absolute nut job she is.
We'll send the script to Judd Apatow. There we go. We've got it. Speaking of, on this show, I love pitching novella ideas, and I've got a good one for you. Okay. Yes, this one's a winner. Benedict, I'm sure you listened, did not think my ideas were winners, but I think he's just a bad sport. Before Nora became Diaz's student, there was another student. His name was Rolly the Untouchable. Working with Diaz, all he ever wanted to do was roll dodge, and he became the best at it.
I bet.
One day when Diaz forced him to try to learn how to fight, he said, "Not for me," and he walked away from the pilgrim life and went around the land challenging people, not beating them, but just rolling from them until they tired out and died of exhaustion.
I love it.
The story is called Rolly the Untouchable. The other title I'm working with is Roly Poly the Devastator. It's a working title. As you said, titles are hard. I'll consult my titles book that I'm writing.
That's true.
No?
All right. I love that. I love it.
Okay.
It's great. Yeah. Because Diaz is he's really into breathing exercises, and, deflective, and yeah.
I just like this idea where someone has truly mastered those elements of it and become so good at it, they become untouchable.
The evasion expert. I love it.
Right. Okay, good. I'm glad. We'll keep
you
that.
Write it though.
Right. That means that sucked. Okay. What's up with Nora's body? She's either always peeing or puking. I would need her to see a doctor, and not Master Kumi, who turned out to be evil.
Yeah. Spoiler. No, I think so. One of the things that I always get annoyed with is when I'm reading fantasy written by men typically, and there's like the one female character, and like she is so pure, and like her farts smell of roses, and she's always clean, and she always smells good, and you know, and I'm like, no, it's like, come on. let's just make a proper female body here. Like, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It can get gross, actually. So yeah.
Well, that is actually a perfect lead-in. So something I like to ask first-time guests of the show is, one of the goals of this podcast is to kind of break away from the traditional stereotypical view of fantasy, which is this kind of male dominated, sex driven, the guy has to protect the woman who can't help herself and is seen only as an object, ridden and adored by basement dwelling neckbeards. What about your books kind of breaks that traditional mold of what fantasy used to be perceived as?
Oh man, it's like there's so much. So I did try my best to sort of stick to a lot of the fan favorite things, but then sort of twist that and go like, no, we're not going to do your version. We're going to do like a different, more feminist touch here. So yeah, just, you know, I love reading. I love reading those books as well. It's like I love the chosen one savior, and obviously he's a 20-year-old buff dude. He's Captain America. He's gonna save us all. It's Flash,
that's
savior of the universe. Yeah, and I just like the idea that, you know, well, first of all, no, because the only chosen one that sort of like sees himself as on this, like, you know, I am the chosen one and I'm on this quest to get back to my heritage, is actually Bashan, who is an absolute utter dick. It's like he's the worst person you could possibly imagine actually inheriting the throne.
Yeah, he fucking sucks.
Like, don't, man. It's like, that's the worst. So, but on the other hand, you have just like this clueless, I mean, she's not that clueless, but you have a feisty heroine who's like, I don't know what I want in life. I just want to murder people. Do whatever I want. So yeah, I just find that amusing. It amuses me. So, and I didn't really see that in the books that I was reading at the time. So I was like, I'm just gonna write this because, you know, everyone needs a bit of a chaotic berserker in their life, and
right.
If it's a girl, so much the better.
Well, thank you for that, because it is a breath of fresh air. So there's a lot of talk about the living blade. Not so much talk about the dying blade. Where does that exist?
Well, the dying blade is all the blades we met along the way.
Oh, how poetic. Okay. Has anyone?
It's a callback to the Arthurian, you know, sort of like sword and stone,
right?
And yeah, it was like, no, it's the living blade because it's, you know, it's alive, and the two-edged sword that can point, you know, that can pierce both body and soul, and blah blah blah. So it's like, oh, there's a super sword, and every other blade you could argue is actually, you know, the dying blade. So don't stick it in your chest; it's probably not good.
I mean, unless you're watching too much YouTube.
No, stick it in your eyeballs.
Don't for Minecraft. Anywhere in Owen's books does the theory pop up that the living blade makes the user mad because the person they sacrifice is just fucking annoying?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the theories that he's working with, actually. It's like, oh no, not this dude for the rest of my life. You know, the trope of the talking sword, because it's got a soul, you know, and it's like a chatty, horrible person. Yeah, definitely.
Let me tell you, that gets old quick. I can't even stand spending time more than an hour around people I do like, let alone an eternity with a sword that just won't shut the hell up.
Shut up. So not you. No, not again. Yeah, I find that amusing. So yeah, it went into the book.
Well, Samandra, I think that's all I got. Thank you.
But we had a lot of fun.
It was an absolute blast. But I think that's all I got. You got any other things? Where can people find you?
Good question. So the website is DemandraWhitecastle.com. So
it's great, actually. Great website.
Oh, thank you. I did try hard. I'm not very tech. I'm not like a tech person, so I spent a lot of time on that damn website. So yeah, go there and sign up to my newsletter. Collect your free novella, Blood Witch. Where else am I? I'm on Twitter, obviously, where I rant about how much I hate the ending of Captain America.
A lot of Marvel hate and love spewed on that timeline.
But you know, it's just like we love something so much, and then the love sort of triggers the intense dislike. It's like, no, everything else is good. Why did you ruin it?
That sounds like my mom's parenting philosophy.
So Twitter is at Tim Whitecastle, and Instagram is also at Tim Whitecastle. But I'm not very good at posting stuff on Instagram. So
lots of pictures of other people's books on there.
Books, yeah. That's what I'm there for. It's like, give me books to read, and it's also like it's all over the place because I read. That I have a very eclectic taste, so I just whatever grabs my fancy I read, and then it does get a bit weird, so I'm sorry for that.
Weird. I think it's awesome. You know, I'm not here picking one genre of books that I've only read 52 of them in a year. You know, I'm not obsessed with something. So thank you so much for taking the time out. Go buy Queens of the Weird.
Yes.
If you didn't contribute to the Kickstarter, you suck. But hopefully there'll be another one. Go finish reading A Touch of Iron if you haven't yet. And I can't wait to have you back because you have now been signed up automatically as a reoccurring guest clause, which means you have to come back if I ask. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Let's do it.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Ton of fun having Tamandra on the show. Always love when someone can take an hour out to chat with me about their incredible work. I hope everybody got something fun out of it. Let's talk about books on the horizon because I don't have any more time to waste. Next week is going to be the return of SPFBO 3 winner Rob J. Hayes. We're here to talk about his book Pawn's Gambit, which is the second book, though it's not a series, in the Mortal Techniques, whatever, saga, I guess. After that, it is a bunch of scheduling I don't knows. So just what's on the horizon, because this segment is called Books on the Horizon. We've got Son of a Lich by J. Zachary Pike. Yes, he's back in the mix. Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. King of Assassins by R.J. Barker. And Priest of Bones by Peter McLean. Thank you everybody who supported an incredible May. I promise you June's going to be just as wild, just as chaotic, and hopefully just as informative. Keep on reading or something. Peace!